take a bleeping genius to be able to tell that when the students come back, the businesses are picking up around this college. Are you kidding? The university? But anyway, that's what they do, right? Well, all you have to do.
Folks, welcome inside the Parisi Palace, high above 2919 East Broadway. This is a special edition of the Jake Feinberg Show, coming to you live on Power Talk. Please go to our website, powertalk.live. Download all of our live local programming, including Solomon on Blast and the Jim Parisi Show. And we thank you for making us part of your day today. Without further ado, it's great to bring back a friend of the program, a cat that I interviewed a few years ago and have been anxious to do part two with. He's been touring relentlessly with the Family Stone Band, and continues to make his mark and affect change in his world. Greg Errico, welcome back to the Jake Feinberg Show.
How you doing, Jake?
Great to talk to you, my man.
Good to be here.
I wanted to tell you, you mentioned I was off air that I was the man of the world, but I actually got commissioned by this film producer I'm producing a film documentary on Stan Getz. And,
oh, wow.
Yeah, it's heavy stuff, and I wanted to know if you ever crossed paths with Stan.
No, but I knew back in the late 60s and 70s, a good friend of mine was a record promo guy and worked for all the big labels and stuff. And he had something to do. He might have even broke one of Stan's records, and I think it had something to do with the girl from Ipanema.
You remember your friend's name, or?
Yeah, I still speak to him. He's promoting. He does shows now up in the North Bay area here near San Francisco.
Wow.
And he's been in the business for a long time, so he's pretty knowledgeable. I could hook you up with him.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, and exactly what he was a producer of Stan's records, you say?
No. He was, he was record promotion. He's in the record promotion business, so he was in a position to even break a record sometimes, meaning, get it started and get it going.
Oh, I would love to connect
with
that kid.
His name is Jeff Traeger. He used to work for WEA, and he's worked for a lot of different labels, and he's been in the business for a long time and done a lot of things. So he'd be a good guy to talk to in regards to Stan Getz, too, because I think he was involved in his career at some point in time.
Oh, absolutely. That's fantastic. No, I ask about it because I wonder about did you ever get to see Stan play, and also what you thought about the idea of him being an old school improviser, in the sense that he, if he didn't hear it and he didn't feel it, then he wasn't going to play.
Yeah, he came from that school, and I could highly relate to that, and I feel pretty much the same way about music, really. And I believe I had heard him, could have been Basin Street West or something like that, back in late 60s. I believe I had heard him back then at some point in time. I don't remember specifically. So it wasn't like, we were close friends or anything like that, or I used to see all the shows, but I'm pretty sure I had run across his path at some point in time back then. But I admire his work and who he was and what he did, and,
He was a really, really, as most genius. He was kind of a kid genius. He was on the road with Tea Garden in 9th grade, and he was a pretty tortured soul. A lot of, I don't need to tell you about that, but he just a really complex person, and I've been doing a lot of woodshedding on it and interviewing a lot of cats. So, but can you talk about how you can relate personally to this old? I love the old school, or the idea of saying, and you as a drummer, where it was like with Stan, if he didn't hear it, he had huge ears, and if he didn't hear it, he was going to let the rhythm section come in with their own ideas or finish it out. And so can you talk about in your own professional career, when you had an opportunity to, or how you can relate to that old school improvisatory mentality?
Well, I'm sure that has a lot to do with who he was and why he achieved what he did musically, because he wasn't. He knew that he necessarily didn't know. You know, in other words, if he wasn't feeling something, it's not like, well, he had to take claim to everything. He kind of let his surroundings, in this case being musicians, I'm sure he had picked or he was playing with, and had confidence in them to, let's throw the ball a little bit. Let's pass the ball around. Let's see what you come up with. I ain't getting this. That's probably in a casual way, more or less what he was doing, and which is a good, healthy thing, that we did that when we created our body of work, more or less, there was everybody was plenty capable. It was, the musicianship was capable and all that, and the creative flow, but you come in, you're creating stuff every day, and people are in different moods, and different things happen, and you got to pass the ball around. And when you do, I think the results are markedly, better, what you come up with, because you just got the influence of the mix of people that you're with and you're creating with. It's always much more interesting.
Can you cite an example with Sly, or you said we? Can you cite?
Well, I mean, when I say we, I was referring to the group for a moment.
Yeah, right.
Family Stone, because it wasn't, it wasn't like sessioned out to session musicians. The band created the music. We all created the music. Sly wrote incredible songs and lyrics, and he was a great producer. And that all lent itself to the band being what it was. Yeah.
Could you go? I would love if you could just go unpack it, one specific song where everybody was able to create the song, where he brought the lyrics, but then the band made the music, and it became
a lot of times it was actually the other way around. A lot of times there was many times where we would just jam, and then maybe something specific would come up. Someone would come up with something, a line, figure, feel, a beat, and then we would develop that. And a lot of times the tracks were created before the storyline, before the lyric. And so then the track, wow, this track is developing, it's coming out, cool. And then he would go home and listen to the tapes, and an idea would come to his head, a thought, a line, a sentence, like, for instance, and as far as that, like, I remember Dave Kaperlik had said to him once, well, Sly, everyday people, referring to something in a conversation. He's frozen his tracks, grabbed a piece of paper and a matchbook probably, and wrote, in quote, everyday people. And there, then built a song around just two words, a phrase. Sometimes it would happen with a concept. Sometimes it would happen with a word. Sometimes it would happen with a phrase. So there's no rules when it comes to creating like that. I mean, it comes every which way, shape, form.
Did you actually? I'd love you if you could talk about the first time that you were on the bandstand with. Like, how did you connect with Sly? Because since last time I talked to you, he was a prolific music DJ. He had that little piano in the studio with him. But I mean, when did you first connect with Sylvester Stewart?
Well, he had a radio show and was very popular. He was very creative, and his brother, Frederick Stewart, we had a group. And we had a group for about a year and a half called Freddie and the Stone Souls. And, during, as Sly had his radio shows, he went from KSOL, and then he went to KDIA, and, he was popular around the Bay Area. He used to produce for Tom Donahue, Bobby Mitchell, Tom Donahue being the godfather of FM, AOR, album-oriented radio, FM radio format.
Absolutely.
He started KSAN. Before that, he was partnered with Bobby Mitchell, who was the PD, program director for a big station in San Francisco was KYA, and they were a network. They had affiliates across the country. And when you got a record on, when, he had picked one of your records, you probably could almost guarantee you'd had a hit. It would go across the country. And this was in the days when there was no internet and 700 TV stations and video games and everything. I mean, when prime time, when you listen to prime time, whether it be radio or TV, the three networks that existed back then that you could watch, you were exposed. And you understand this because you know how to press the right buttons on the internet and connect people with people and be visible. I can tell you do because I just by your trail.
Right.
So I know you understand that. It was a very powerful thing then because there wasn't a lot. Now you're amongst millions of things to be visible, right?
Exactly.
Then, just think about it. When Ed Sullivan Show came on, it was one of 3 networks, came on Sunday night, 8 o'clock. The whole world seen you. Well, our world anyway. This country, and some of the other countries too that were, that had TV and stuff back then. A lot of countries didn't back then. There's a lot of nations have been developed and since those days, and it lived more or less in a Western style like we do. Then they didn't. It was candles and caves.
No, there were a lot of places. I mean, listen, you look at what George Harrison did and the Beatles. I mean, they said, well, we're superstars, but let's turn the lights on in India. Let's bring raga.
Right.
Let's bring raga music because it was in the dark. And I do wonder though. I mean, even though there were less outlets, I mean, the cream still rose to the top. I mean,
correct,
right?
And
I mean, it still
now.
worked. Yeah, exactly. It's still. I mean, I have my own little trail, and I'm just, you have to break through this morass of full interconnection, and that in itself is daunting. But you guys did it when it was in some ways. I remember talking to Larry Vann, the great soul drummer in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
He was talking
Yeah,
about.
I know Larry. Yeah.
And he was playing drums for the Whispers, and maybe even before he got with them. But the Whispers had a huge hit when Sly was on the radio, and they were down in Los Angeles, doing studio work. And Sly called him up. He's like, one of your songs getting huge airplay up here. They didn't even know. It's like they didn't. And to me, it was like that's the brilliance of it, and the idea that they were having a hit record and they were in the same state and they had no clue.
Yeah, because information. It's not like it is today, where information is instantaneous, and even in the control of information, also, in the manipulation of it. Then it was a different ball game, but still, I guess the same mindset. I mean, you had to understand the same principles, the same theories of, just like, being visible today. So, it's easier. You don't have to, if you're an artist, you don't have to sign with a major label, what's left of them, or, a major company to be visible. You could develop your own fan base because you have access to the intersection.
That's right. You're darn
right.
Where
then you didn't. You had to kind of go with one of those companies because they were kind of controlling everything. And it still costs a lot of money to break an artist. If you're going to break an artist today, it's probably more than it was back then. And look at all the social media and everything you have available, but it takes a coordinated, sophisticated effort to do it. And you got to have something to offer too in artists. You can't just. Back then they created artists. I mean, they threw money at stuff and everybody knew about it, but that doesn't mean it was good. There's a lot of examples of that.
Right.
That's pretty hard to do these days,
Well,
today, your pants are down, right?
Your cover's blown.
You gotta have something to offer. You can't be bullshitting.
I think you're. Have you been working with any younger artists lately, producing anything?
I
guess my question is this: is like, what are the, knowing that you lived through a different time in terms of media, in terms of dissemination of content and quality, I mean, what do you try to instill just from an individualistic point of view, and what do you talk to the cats about that you might work with about how to get themselves, I'm not talking about like using social media, I'm saying like, just in their brand, how do you talk to them about creating something that is good, people are going to latch onto?
Well, I don't teach any classes.
No, you're not. You're not a. You're not
like
a.
That,
I know you're not a
I don't
professor.
have an opportunity to really get into those conversations much. And when I do work with other artists, it's more like on a professional level. Like I've either been hired to do something, or I'm developing something with someone, and they're usually it's not necessarily a young artist in some extent. It's usually someone that's already in it and has success even. But it's interesting if I have an opportunity to talk about those things, because I have a lot of thoughts about it, just like we are right now. But I don't really have that much opportunity to, I don't work with I'm not, like on The Voice or something where you got, new artists coming in, you're going to develop them, you're going to score them, and they have talent, and all that.
Well,
cool, though.
I know, but I mean, this is your bully pulpit. I mean, why don't you just wax a little bit about talk about some things that are on your mind when you see some of this stuff, being that you're somebody who is steeped in groove music with huge, you came up when dynamics were huge in music. There was no hyper compression. I mean, even Stan, I was talking to, Lalo Schifrin, total freaking genius yesterday, and then I was talking to I was talking to Mel Martin, the great horn player, and he was like, I mean, when he was on the road with Teagarden, those guys had their own individual sounds. You had to create your own sound in order to fit into the mix. I just would love you to talk if there are things that you see repetitively that you kind of just things that just enlighten cats out there.
It's probably more if I was to, I've thought about it before actually. If I had say I was going to do a course in college or something, I'm going to teach a class or something on music business or music, just the creative process, and well, not even the creative process, but actually I thought about something dealing with having success, and then how you handle that, and probably extreme success, because that's what I was exposed to, like with Sly and all the groups that I came up with, that we all grew up together, made Santana and Grateful Dead was here. I mean, all the music that came out of the 60s that came from the Bay Area, I guess we were at the right place at the right time, whatever. There was a lot of success and accelerated learning process and movement back in those days. Things happened quick, and it was going fast and it was heavy, So probably the how to handle that. It's not an easy thing, and you could see the trail of artists that, people that had extreme success, have, and them dealing with success, the money, the attention, the speed in which you have to travel every day to do everything. It's a lot, and it's not an easy thing.
Well, if you were,
and there's no book on it. There's no one teaching you.
No, and I would, if I had,
you're on your own.
I mean, in the University of Jake Feinberg, I would ask Greg Errico to personalize it and say, could you give an example of something that was very difficult that most people probably would never even be aware of, because most people are very simplistic. They say, they're rich, they're going on the road, they got women everywhere, it's a party all the time. And then, but like, I remember one of the most pressing, I transcribed our whole first interview, and you talked about literally just walking away from the business for a while. And so, we can talk about the cats that didn't make it, that are no longer on this planet. But could you personalize it a little bit and talk about something that was you faced adversity and ultimately how you overcame it?
Well, I mean, just with all the, walking away from the business a while, it was just because I got to a point where I didn't want to become a victim of it. Not that I was, I wouldn't call myself, I wasn't a superstar or anything. I was in a huge group that had a lot of visibility, but still, I'm subject to all the same stuff. I was partying with all those guys too, and I was, and you just, I guess it gets back down to just common sense. I mean, you just got to know where you draw the line, and when you're over it, and got to be able to say, okay, well, this isn't good anymore, or this is leading to a bad place, or I got to refocus and adjust and whatever. So it's just those are, I'd say, those are things we were born with. But a lot of times, maybe you get into a situation where you're not you're not conscious of it because you're so inebriated, whether drunk or high or just in the moment of these overly intense things that are going on. You could become a victim.
Absolutely. I mean, like.
And there's physical aspects of it too, mental aspects of it, emotional, spiritual.
Well, because I want to ask you a question.
They're real things.
No, I mean this is like an appendage of it. But I interviewed Miroslav Vicius, and he talked about, he talked about you, but ultimately later in the conversation, he talked about. The music coming through you, music from the heavens, right? It comes through you. You channel that through you, okay? And I believe very seriously that Greg Errico is that what I'm talking about. But there are cats that are super successful that we've been talking about on the bandstand, and yet they get resentful over time, and over even though they've had all the success because they realize that they can't do it. They don't have that capacity. And I guess what I'm trying to get at is this idea of if you're like Greg Errico's on the bandstand on a nightly basis, playing with a plethora. I mean, so many cats. It could have been, Zawinul. It could have been Garcia. It could have been Sly. Betty Davis. You go on and on and on. And so you're having all these like really transcendent experiences. Sometimes if it hits the right way, but it really is powerful. And then the only way to sort of, when in the downtime, is to turn to drugs and alcohol. I mean, to me, that's like the only way to, as I've gone through this, is to sort of, you need to find, otherwise things just are very boring. I mean, is there? Well,
and you just said what I was going to say, or be bored. Yeah, so, and all those things are true and real. And so, life is tough sometimes. So, strap up. I mean, take a deep breath or whatever. And I don't mean strap up, like
no guns. But no, I mean, no. I mean,
deep breath.
Yeah, but I mean, could you? How did you actually fully? I find myself sometimes like never able to fully break away from something that literally, like in your case, was your career, which was music. But you, like, did you ever like? Were you like in this period of going back and forth? How did you actually just? Was it a life circumstance, or did you actually like, strap up and just walk away and cold turn?
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't that simplistic. I mean, it's a process, and actually, it's kind of like music comes to you.
Right.
The moments come to you. You seize the moment on something. Well, when shit ain't happening, you could seize that moment too. I mean, everything ain't on 10 all the time. So when things slow down, and it ain't happening anymore, whatever. I'm looking around. Who am I going to create with? Not that there wasn't people to create with, but disco is going on. I mean, it's like mechanical music, boring, no inspiration, no creativity. It's just, it's just corporate stamp music. Okay, it's a pretty good time to say, hey, go on, I'm going to take a vacation. See you later.
That
right?
I loud
Does
and
that
clear.
make sense? I mean,
Loud and clear. No, absolutely.
anybody could do that,
Yeah.
But you could be, but it sounds easy, and it is, but that doesn't mean that you haven't driven yourself to a point to where you don't even know that's happening. You're walking on stage and there's 100,000 people screaming at you. The reality is there's only 10 people out there, and they're just sitting there picking their nose. Okay. That's a crude snapshot of it, but could be, there's an example. I don't know, so it's like, it's just it's seizing the moment too. I guess if I was blessed with being able to have that ability to seize a moment and to have energy flow through me and inspiration and what have you, life, right? Well, then I could do it on a upstroke or a downstroke. I could do it when it's time to stop. Well, I got to play that song too.
Talking to Greg Errico here on the Jake Feinberg Show, and why don't you talk a little bit about like what's inspiring for you right now? I mean, you guys are. Can you just talk about some inspirational moments you've had musically in 2016?
Well, I find the first thing that comes to mind is as far as still being out there and playing the music that we created. What is it, 40-something years ago, 50 years ago?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just to be able to do that, is inspiring to me, and I love doing it. I still get a tickle doing it. I'm still able to pull something that's up there floating by me and pull it down for a second and light it on fire and give it to everybody. So that's exciting. I mean, just to still be able to do the music that was inspirational, that touched a lot of people so many years ago. And then I find it when I play with other people, like a partner of mine. He's just a jazz lover, and we had a label together, and I produced some stuff I did with the Basie Orchestra and Jamie Davis and such, which is a whole other world, a whole other music world than when I originally came from.
Wow.
But it's still music, and so I went and sat in. I'm just playing some straight ahead jazz with these guys, and
where? What venue?
This wasn't a venue. This was he had a party at his house, and he had brought Scotty Barnhart in from, he's the director of the Basie Orchestra now, and Jamie was there, and it was a bunch of good, regional and local cats that he just brought them in to play at his birthday. And we just had a barbecue. We had a party.
You're playing straight ahead.
Well, we're jamming. We had music stuff set up there, and we're jamming too. So you asked, and so there's an example of just like a whole nother, world of the same thing. It's still music, and it's still all those same things apply to it. Like Miroslav was speaking of, having music flow through you, and it's all about your company, the company you're with, and you mix. It's just like a soup. You put different ingredients in it, you're going to get a different kind of flavor soup.
That was like last night. Yeah, no, I put a lot of vodka in our slow cooker.
Yeah,
and my kids were all drunk. No, it's true.
I'm happy to be whatever spice I am, and I could jump in and just enjoy a whole other dish, a whole new dish. It's different. It's not always, gumbo or spaghetti or soup or whatever. It's different. I could enjoy these different things. Because I was born with that ability to do that thing that, when you're a creative person, or in music, and specifically in this case, you have to be born with that. There are, and you see people that are, and it has nothing to do with what, if you went to school and you did lessons and you've learned, that's just an additional thing. You still have to be born with the ability to create for the moment, and I guess it depends how plugged in you are to the spiritual things that exist and that are present at any given time.
Did you referring back to my interview with Mel Martin, he was talking about Bill Graham. I know a dear friend of yours and a cat that you still miss dearly. But he said that he had a bill back at the Fillmore West was the Charles Lloyd Quartet. They were playing Forest Flower, and they were opening for the Basie Band. And he said that Basie's band was in stitches laughing when they were looking at this Charles Lloyd music, just because they could not they couldn't get it. They couldn't figure it out. But you just dropped the Basie and how did this lineage, can you trace your lineage back to for Basie? I think that's a whole new world that I haven't even.
Well, this was back early 60s, early 2000. I had a partner of mine. He was a jazz lover. Anyway, he wanted to produce. He had this singer that he introduced me to. His name was Jamie Davis, and Jamie was an alumnus with the Basie Orchestra. So when the opportunity came to do a record, my friend Sam wanted to produce a record on Jamie. And he asked me to produce, right? So I asked Jamie, well, and the genre was American Songbook, big band, jazz.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I'm saying, Jamie, who do you want to get for this? You want to get session guys, the guys of today, or you got anything? He goes, well, I used to be in the Basie Band. I toured with them for a few years, and those guys could swing. He said, they could swing. So he said, well, let's get them. And he goes, I'll call them, So, yeah, he did, and they go, yes, hey, we'll support you. You can do a new record. And so Jamie got the arrangements done, and we brought all the cats in. Butch Miles, one of Basie's original drummers, back in the 60s, was playing still at the time.
Wow.
So, great. I was listening to Jamie would send me tapes of them live and what have you, and, some of the records, and I'm getting into it, listening to the stuff, just getting accustomed to everything, and it was phenomenal, and I was able to wear that hat and get into it and, meet all these people. And the same thing is playing the song where you might not necessarily say, okay, everyone, you go here, you go here. It's like you just sit back and you listen for a second because, they're your friend right now, and maybe they got something to show you. You got something to show them. And you trade back and forth. You pass the ball. Disregard that someone's trying to call and it keeps beeping. I don't know if you can hear that too.
Don't worry about it. Keep going.
Yeah.
You're grooving. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, it's the same thing as playing the song, and improvising on stage. You're improvising. It's knowing when to, you're going to learn when it's time to stay out of the way of something. It's because something is happening. And you got to realize that if something happening is valuable, and to just jump in the stream and learn something. Listen.
Sure.
And then and you realize while you're in that, you're doing something together with a group of people. There's a moment that there's not a certainty. There is some uncertain, something that's unsure, and you might know. You might have the answer. You jump in and connect those dots. So I've learned a lot of stuff like that. As a matter of fact, I probably learned everything I know like that. And
are you able to? Is that something like when you like when you say get into the water and swim, I mean, I guess it's a very organic learning process, but
it's more like getting in the water and flowing. It's more like a stream because the water is moving at this point.
Sure.
Right?
No. My question is
All you need to do is float.
Sure, but I mean, a lot of times my generation, I'm 38 and younger, they're not even there. What do you do when you're not, when you can see that a younger cat is not aware that something is going on? And they still are trying to get themselves involved, and all you want to do is yank them back and say, "Dude, let it flow out." See, that's part of the issue. Is I love your generation. Everybody, all the drummers especially. It's like the cue. It was ego. The ego is not that prevalent. It was like, it was like, hey, there's something happening here. Let me just stay out of the way, okay? And
there's healthy ego and there's unhealthy ego, and that's you got maybe my generation was more blessed with healthy ego. I don't know. And there were some healthy egos back then too.
No, there were. I mean, yeah.
Hard.
Right. But I think the passing of the ball, the lost art of hearing and listening is really, really. These are things that I continue to just pound away on the show, just because you guys are still here. You guys can still shed light, and focus on that stuff, because it's obvious that it's not hard for people to become technically proficient. I mean, you can build.
That's right.
You can. It's pretty obvious, but
you go to school. You could come home, practice, every day for 4 or 5 hours, whatever. I mean, what you put in, what you get out.
But you're not, But you're not on Broadway with the 12-piece band with Carabello and Hadley Callum, and you don't have the opportunities to just get stuff out of your system on the bandstand on a consistent basis and really develop really good feel and good hearing. That's part of the conundrum here. I mean, I just, I wanted to ask.
That's where we came from. Which was that street thing, that raw, that raw thing, that raw camaraderie, and we grew up with here.
I mean, it's just to me, it's like I mean, a documentary should be made on the drummers of that. I mean, Garibaldi considers you a hero. Michael Shreve, yourself, and the list goes on and on and on. I mean, I was able to connect with Greg Elmore, not a guy of very few words, but the original drummer for Quicksilver. It just everybody. It was raw, and it wasn't as polished. But I wanted to get your. This is a conceptual thing. I wanted you to talk about the idea that when you're in a jam, some kind of jam, it's open, and all of a sudden everyone's very focused today in music. You got to know where the one is. You got to know where the one is. You got to know where the one is.
Right.
And you get into a situation where, as a drummer, you lose where the one is. And I want you to talk about your philosophy as it relates to the idea that, quote unquote, any note can be the one. I'd like you to talk about that concept, whether you believe in that, and if you had an experience with a band where you would get lost. If you lose your way, just understand that any note can be the one.
Well, but if you take that, what you just said, any note could be the one. The group of people that you're with have to have that same mindset.
That's right. That's a good point.
Because
that's a good point. Yeah, no, this is
you'd be on the one, everybody else be somewhere else.
This is assuming that you're all in sync. Everybody's on the same page. But I'm just from your as a drummer. Can you talk about an experience where you were working in a group where everybody understood that?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's just common sense, I think. And if in a loose sense, if you don't know where the one is, keep your day job. But I've seen examples of especially in fusion music, like when Billy came out playing like with Marv Vishnu and other things he was involved in. I'm talking about Billy Cobham,
sure,
great drummer, and there's a guy that would and I know other people that do this too. Would they're playing in 7, 11, 12. I mean, just odd time signatures or combinations thereof. A combination of time signatures. A bar 7, a bar 12, whatever, anything. Especially Eastern music, they do this too. There's long bars of, these odd times, and or combinations of odd times. It's a very complex thing. Now, that's a learned thing. You could learn that technically, but I'd say really to do it proficiently, you need to also have a feel for it, a natural feel. There's cats that could take it out there, do a fill in odd time or like elongate the film, and you're going, holy shit, where's the one?
No,
you're falling off a cliff, and man, they bring it right down, and it's a. Now the audience isn't necessarily counting because they can't.
No.
Unless you got a sophisticated musician out there, but I mean, they could. There is a natural sense of when you really knew you came and you brought everybody back in the right place, and then there's the other school where it's an improvised thing, and it wasn't necessary. It may have gotten lost, but the point is that everybody came back in together, and that is the point, and that's all that matters. Whether you was actually able, if you could take it apart, slow it down, and count every little thing that happened, and say that this was mathematically correct, or it could be spiritually correct.
Wow, I like that spiritual. Did that stuff go on with Sly?
That would be more. You'd have to say that stuff go on with Weather Report.
That will see, and we're gonna
with Sly. This was R&B music. I mean, we did stuff like that, yeah, but that wasn't the point. And that wasn't the normal thing. But yeah, we went there. We did that, but because we could. But that wasn't our thing. We didn't do that with a group like with Joe. You're romancing odd times and all kinds of sophisticated rhythms and stuff. So it was more the point.
Well, no, this is way back when I started to do this. Put these transcriptions up as multimedia posts on Facebook. I put up one about Greg Errico, and I put up a picture of Joe Zawinul, and Greg was like, "Hey, man, that's Joe, not me." And
yeah,
but the reason the image came up was because, in fact, for many people, they don't realize this, and I won't repeat the story because it's pretty bad. Al Muzon was they were burning in Europe, but he did some unsavory stuff and was kicked out of the band.
Yeah.
And Greg Errico was anyway. I'm just going to let you take the floor. When did you first meet Zawinul, and then ultimately, how did you come into Weather Report? Because I mean, this quote keeps going in my head. There's nobody that played the groove better on Boogie Woogie Waltz than Greg Errico, and truly, it's totally inspirational that you were crossing from Sly to Betty Davis to the Grateful Dead to Joe Zawinul. So
I thought we had talked about this before. Maybe not.
No, we did not. We did not talk about Weather Report.
I was introduced. First of all, Doug Rauch, great bass player, is no longer with us.
Santana, yeah.
Introduced. He was hanging out with Miroslav Vitos. Doug was living with me at the time, and he told me about Miroslav and wanted to invite him down to the house to jam with us. And he did. And he came down several times, jammed with us, brought his upright bass and his Fender bass, And I found this guy really intriguing. He was a really nice, great guy. And we're, a couple times down the house into it, and Miroslav stops me one afternoon we're jamming. He goes, "Hey, we need a drummer." I said, with the Weather Report with Joe and Wayne, we're going out. We need a drummer. Would you like to do it? I said, sure. And it was actually like something coming up quick, right? There was like, It was like, and so I said yeah, and at the time, and I'm almost embarrassed to say this, but at the time, I wasn't that familiar with. I had heard of this group, but people were talking about them, but I wasn't that familiar with the music, and so I kind of went on, and I didn't know Joe or Wayne, and I was just kind of going on my vibe with Miroslav. Yeah, let's do this.
This is awesome.
So I'm foreverly grateful that I did, because they were all great people, and it was a just absolutely incredible musical experience. Went to places would have never been able to go without doing that, and so I met Joe through Miroslav, and we went back to New York. It was the day before the gig. We had one rehearsal, and I think it was A.B. Fisher Hall or something, some place in New York.
Carnegie Hall, I think.
Carnegie Hall might have been,
yeah.
And we did a show with Diodato. He just had that big record out, 2001: Space Odyssey.
Absolutely.
Record. It was just a show with them. I hit the stage.
Oh, man.
Running. It was like, but so this is a group that you could do that with if you're able to just jump in and, flow with it, and, all those things we talked about earlier. And I had that ability. So it was a great, like I said, I'll call it a learning experience. I just had a phenomenal time socially with them, musically. The whole experience was just totally different than, Sly and the Family Stone, which was also great, but it was just a whole other world.
Were you still with? Were you still doing things with? You were in the studios at that point, or were you still with Sly? I'm just trying to figure out.
No, I had left Sly.
Yeah.
No, this was in '74. I believe it was 1974. Did
73 in that range, yeah.
Yeah, 73, 74. It was all over Italy, Europe, Japan. We did the States too, and I had just finished maybe, Betty Davis's record about a year before. And I had left Sly in '71. Took a year off. Then I came back, and so I did Betty's record. So this was about within that next year.
Was it could you talk about the idea of just in that band playing 20? Were there times where you just lost track of time, where you'd be playing for 25 or 30 minutes? Not even. I've talked to so many cats, Sonny Fortune, all these guys who played with Rashid Ali, and they just go out in a duo form. And Sonny's like, I thought I was playing for 10 minutes, and it was 47 minutes. I'd been playing for 50 minutes.
Yeah, well, when you get into doing, like, deep, improvisation, it's really easy to do,
Right. But I'm just, like, this is very important. Like, from a natural point of view, you're saying, like, you were not collecting Blue Note Wayne Shorter records. You didn't know who these guys were, per se.
Right.
And you're telling me that one rehearsal, and you felt comfortable enough. You obviously jammed with Miroslav, but you felt that. You're born with that. You can't just. Most people.
Yeah,
that's insane.
But I was nervous as shit. It was like, oh, what are we gonna do? But the confidence came more in, like, it was more. The rehearsal was incidental. It was more going back and meeting Joe and hanging and talking, staying up all night, whatever we did, just to hang out and talk and connect. And, all I needed to know musically, because this was going to be, there would be specific, like an intro to something, or a head and an ending. But what happened in between was totally what happened in between that moment. And so, like, you got to have confidence in the people and just kind of a feel for their, personalities. And it's more like that kind of a thing, The rehearsal was just to say, okay, yeah, this is a taste of what it's going to feel like. What we do. And we even did there with Sly. We used to rehearse and learn stuff, specific. There was a whole map. I mean, we learned this stuff. But when we performed, out the window.
Right.
Out the window. So you had to know it, but once you knew it, then you could forget it and just do whatever you're going to do with it. And every time it was something, it was a little different. And there were some times where there was a mistake. But in the same, this applies. The same thing when we're talking about time, coming back in on the one.
Yeah.
If you're with people and you're all on the same page and you could trust one another, you could go anywhere and all land at the same place at the same time. I'm confident that you're going to do that, Even if it's a mistake. In other words, you could take a mistake and make it into actually something that was kind of cool, or great, or wow, that's phenomenal. How do you do that? Don't ask me because I don't fucking know.
Setting aside your personal relationship with Zawinul, I mean, Miroslav, I'll send you the quote later because I'm not going to do justice to it, but he said that out of all the cats in the band, Joe struggled the most when playing music from the heavens. He got very uncomfortable, and oftentimes, like he'd say, Wayne could do it, I could do it, but then Joe would have to come back and start playing one of his tunes when it would get too far out, and he would come back.
Oh, to me, he didn't seem. I know what you're saying, but
okay, as long as you know what I'm saying, yeah, that's what he. Yeah, that's it.
But I mean, he could do it, and he could do it. I don't think he would do it. Hence, not those individuals on the stage with.
Right.
He was confident that he could jump, out the window, and by the time he hits the ground, one of the guys are going to grab him with a parachute. I'd say, something like that.
Can you talk about some wisdom he laid on you? I remember talking to Narda Michael Walden. He was always talking about potatoes. But what I mean, Joe was a character and a great leader in his own right, and
absolutely.
I just wanted you to maybe share a good, especially during that time where you were in this sort of innocence, where it was like you'd rehearse, forget everything, and then stay up all night talking, and you probably were so fired up. I mean, I'd just love to hear a story about Joe.
Joe was phenomenal. I mean, he was just such a interesting individual. I used to love traveling with him, and I'm the kind of person I travel. I'd like to feel where I am. I like to go out and explore a little bit. And like with Sly, we never had time. You're going in and without. Weather report, I found that we would go and we'd go eat. We'd have some drinks. We'd talk to people. We'd socialize a little bit. And that was part of the music. The music was very, I don't know. It's hard to describe. I always describe weather report music as if you were a space traveler. And so you're coming in on your big ship to this new part of the universe, and here's a planet. We're going to stop by. Everyone wants to get supplies, and we want to. Right, you go down, and everyone's bored, so you go to a nightclub. I'm just throwing this out there, and you walk in, and there's a band playing, and that's the music you hear, just from some other part of the universe, bar none. I mean, that's what you're going to hear.
I love it. Well, I mean, and it was just, and they were, like you said, I feel like there was like a real, not just call and response, but like there was a real, people were just naked up on stage,
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but they were there, but they knew they were there, and it's come on, and we're going to, it's like kids in a sandbox, I mean, you're playing, you're having fun, you're intent. On what you're going to do, and it was an incredible experience, and I would do it again in a heartbeat.
One final question for you, Mr. Errico, is like I saw you post a picture a while back. One of the quotes in there was, "It was a very good day." It was like you sitting next to Sly when he was, I guess, awarded compensation funds for his music. Can you talk about just with some perspective, if justice was served, and if you talk to Sly at all, where he's at these days with his head?
Well, first of all, your presentation of the picture or your understanding of what happened is a whole bunch of different things that almost have nothing to do with each other.
Mm-hmm.
But I get it, and
thank you.
I'm not dissing you for it. It happens all the time. For some reason, with Sly, people have a perception and a perspective, and they're all different. As different as the music was, and it's all different, and it's never accurate. And unfortunately, it's not even usually true. Like, for instance, you read that he won $5 million in a lawsuit, and he got judgment. And at the end of the day, it was overturned and reversed. He never did get the $5 million. Oh. And by the time that he could maybe, hire someone to go after it and collect it, it was overturned. So he lost the judgment. But everybody gravitates on that he's got justice and this wonderful thing, which is all good. I wish, but that's just not the reality. I talk to him maybe once or twice a year, and everybody's also perspective is that they're waiting for him to come back and jump on the stage, and what they relate to is Sly Stone or Sly and Family Stone or whatever, just that image, that great image, that good feeling that he used to bring, But he's gone from that. He left that a long time ago. And that's just the unfortunate reality. He's still around. I wish that he could come out and sing and write again and do all that we used to do. But I don't think it's there.
I mean, I just, don't you think that part of the reason that there's all this misunderstanding is just because he's not able to, or he's not in a position, or doesn't want to. I'm not saying it's even up to his responsibility to address it, but I mean, a lot of the information is not. I guess all I'm saying is, like, if he's at peace or not. I mean, that's really the ultimate question.
Yeah, I think he is. He seems to be okay with it. I mean, if you was to be present right now, I find that most people that are actually really in the same place, same time, same room with them for a moment are saddened, because it's not that illusion, I'll call it, that they have, and he's doing okay, but then again, he isn't. It's like when someone that could affect so many people in such a deep way, write such great songs, you kind of expect, you want them. Well, you still bring that, or at least could you still represent that? Even if you can't do another great song today, but could you just represent what you created?
I mean, you're nailing it, man. Because whether it's Neil Schon and Journey, whether it's
and you know what?
Yeah.
No one wants to hear it. I don't want to say it, but that's what it is.
You know what?
I mean, I don't volunteer this, and it's usually I have to almost be cornered to really, okay, man, you really want to know, and I try to do it as nice as I can, but that's the reality. And I find it interesting. I can't explain it, or I don't have any resolution to why or what. Or why do people keep wanting it to be that? Why do people keep asking? It is what it is.
Enough said. I mean, can we talk? Are you? Can we please get? Well, we missed each other last time, but I hope you guys can get back to the desert at some point to play down here.
Yeah. We're going down in, well, you're in Arizona, right? We're going on to Bishop, Southern California, out in the northern Mojave Desert, I guess it is, and some kind of festival out there.
Yeah, well, we'll connect soon enough. I just, I always loved rapping with you, man. All the cats that feel very connected to this coalition of drummers. You guys have really carried me through it as I get stronger and stronger, and definitely, please connect me with with the guy who maybe did some record promotion.
For Send me an email. I'll send you his information. He'll be glad to talk to you.
All right, Errico. Much love, dude. Thank you, brother.
Okay, you take care of yourself.
All right, man. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Later. We'll be right back on the Jake Feinberg Show.
As recently as 1988, white folks without a college degree represented 54% of the electorate, compared with only 31% of whites with a four-year degree.
Ranch. Come make some cool memories. Visit TancaVerdeRanch.com for questions on accommodations, dude ranch activities, and restaurant hours. TancaVerdeRanch.com.
Proud member of the Tucson Originals.
There's only...
Folks, welcome inside the Parisi Palace, high above 2919 East Broadway. This is a special edition of the Jake Feinberg Show, coming to you live on Power Talk. Please go to our website, powertalk.live, download our free app, and stream all of our live local shows. We're full-on extraterrestrial radio. And without further ado, I want to